Media Talks, the podcast that helps to better understand the world of media and video advertising.
Hello and welcome back, Media Talk listeners. Wishing you all a fantastic and successful 2025. I'm Emmanuel Josserand. I'm responsible for industry relations, insights, and advocacy at Freewheel, and of course, host of our Media Talks podcast. New year, new series, and I'm absolutely thrilled and honored to start this year with a very special guest, James Rooke, President of Comcast Advertising. James, hello, and welcome to the show.
Happy New Year to you. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us, James.
So at the end of last year, you went to London for the Future TV advertising, and I felt there was a theme that kept creeping back, which in fact we've heard multiple times before, and this is about the complexity of the video market. It's getting very, very crowded with the proliferation of platforms and new channels which are offering, I would say, endless options for consumer to get entertained. So while it's great for the consumer, in some ways it's also great for the advertisers because they can reach their audiences in so many different ways and time. However, this fragmentation is also bringing a lot of complexity, and it's difficult to make sense of it all. Marketers have been asking for simplification and easier access to all this great content. This is not new, and that's been going on for quite some time. So how do we accelerate and make this happen?
Firstly, you're right. As viewing fragments across more distribution services, across more devices, complexity increases. And complexity also increases as the worlds of traditional television and streaming converge. 10 years from now, it's likely, I'm estimating 10 years, maybe it's longer, maybe it's shorter, but it isn't in the near term. Everything will be delivered over an IP backbone, and then there won't be any traditional TV or streaming. It's just going to be video. But we're going to live in a very complex time until then, because there are different technology stacks that support different inventory pools. There are different processes. There are different policies. Measurement is a mess, and so it is hard. So the theme for this year for the premium video ecosystem has to be simplicity. And it has to be simplicity because big tech companies have done an incredible job of making it easy for advertisers to access their inventory, and easy matters. The good news is that premium video in all its forms is an incredible performance vehicle for advertisers. It works. Now, we know that players who are closer to the bottom of the consumer purchase funnel, so closest to final click, have taken a lot of credit that has been they don't deserve based on the work done from media tactics further up the purchase funnel. But the reality is that they've also made it really easy. And so in order for the premium video ecosystem to grow, they have to simplify how advertisers can access inventory. And those aren't just the largest marketers and agencies, which represents the core sort of client base of the largest broadcasters in the world. It's also, to drive growth, you've got to go after net new advertisers who really want to grow their brands and grow their businesses because they know that premium video works, but it's too hard to access. That's the unlock. So the opportunity is, how do you bring the sort of simplification playbook that big tech has created and executed incredibly well, and credit to them, and marry that with the quality of premium video as a product, which is enabling advertisers to have access to new scaled, qualified audiences in brand safe environments, and do that in a way that is frictionless.
How do we do this then? How can we get to those long tail advertisers?
Well, you have to do two things. One is you have to meet those longer tail advertisers where they want to be met. And that, not to get too technical, but at the highest level, what big tech has done a really good job of is making their inventory available in the platforms where those long tail advertisers spend their time, and integrate and enabling their inventory to be purchased through APIs, where it takes a couple of strokes of a keyboard to get a campaign live. And over time, it may not take a couple of strokes of a keyboard. You look at the potential of artificial intelligence and the ability to get a campaign live, without doing very much at all. The goal is make it as simple as possible. You also have to, for first time someone's using video advertising, you've got to solve the creative problem. Again, that's where generative AI can be super helpful to be able to get a TV ready ad up and running for zero cost in 5 minutes. And you also have to think about basic things like payments and how you're going to make those things seamless. So there's a playbook that exists. The bar has been set, and those longer tail advertisers, some of them are significant advertisers spending millions and millions every year, but they've only bought on social or YouTube. And they are looking for new audiences or new supply pools to manage the reach and frequency. And right now they have limited choice. They can buy social video, they buy YouTube, and they're looking for a choice. There's an opportunity to provide that choice, but the bar's been set in terms of how you have to engage with them. And as an industry, we can't compromise on doing something that is less good, because those advertisers have already been conditioned in terms of what good looks like.
So there's a recent research that we've done with Audience Express, actually recently, called Streaming TV Uncovered. And we saw that half of marketers see programmatic buying as more effective than direct buys. Yet, a vast amount of ad spend is compromised by the complexity of programmatic transaction and the number of intermediaries, particularly in the sort of that premium ecosystem. How can, I would say, programmatic buying live by its promises?
Sure. Well, let me start where I ended the last question around opening up to new advertisers. Because if you look at those new advertisers that are just buying social video and YouTube today, and the majority, right? Then nearly all of that, I'd probably say 90% plus, is executed programmatically. And it's executed in a very clean way programmatically, because it is direct API integrations into the ad servers of, whether that be Meta, Google, or others. And so it's actually, they've done a very good job of making sure the highway is direct and clear and clean, because it's within their ecosystem. So there's a marker there. Now it's a very different world when you look at how the broadcasters, publishers transact with agencies and others in the world of programmatic. If you look at Comcast Advertising, you look at the clients that Freewheel serves, which is very representative of the premium video ecosystem, then the growth in programmatic is significant, but still only about 20% of total connected TV inventory is being executed programmatically, relative to social video that's closer to 100. right? So you can see how much room there is to go. Challenge, you called it out correctly, is that within that 20%, the highways are not direct. There are tributaries and a number of stops along the way, and that's problematic. And it's problematic, as always, you need to look at things through two lenses. One is the lens of the marketer, who owns the money, and one is the viewer. And from a marketer standpoint, it means that working media is being compromised because there's too much tax in the middle. For the consumer, viewer experience starts to get impacted, in particular as more and more streaming gets viewed in live environments. When you intersect streaming, viewing, and then programmatic monetization, it is not great right now. And so there's a problem. So there is an opportunity for the industry to clean things up now, because that's good for the marketer and it's good for the viewer, and it's going to make things operationally more simple, which is necessary. And that will then provide a blueprint that will enable scaling programmatic transactions higher than the 20% in a way that is good for the industry. And then you have to do that also because as traditional TV inventory can behave more like streaming, you've got a lot of volume that's going to come through those programmatic pipes. So you've got to sort of set it up the right way now and sort of clean up the media supply chain.
Create a highway programmatic. I like that. So I want to talk about what's coming. It's the early in the year, but I had a question I really wanted to ask. And TV has the highest quality content. TV is safe. It is transparent. It kind of lacked, but I think now we're getting into TV has sort of more data, but the dollars are not kind of flowing yet, and instead they're still moving into those other digital big platforms. Can TV win?
TV can win because the product itself, multi-screen TV, premium video, call it what you will, it works. Yes. It is a performative media, and big tech's done a great job of coining and claiming the word performance.
Yes.
But the reality is that performance takes place at every stage of the purchase funnel. But it is it is on the media companies to demonstrate proof of performance, not in post-campaign researches that take too long, because that's not sort of acceptable to advertisers. It's got to be on an always-on, full funnel proof of performance. That doesn't mean competing at lower funnel closest to click, because that's not what the category does well. But I guarantee you the performance it drives down the funnel, including lift in mid funnel, which then has halo effect on lower funnel, is there. As an example, the Video Advertising Bureau in the US just released a study that looked at over 900 first direct-to-consumer businesses that were advertising on television for the first time. And so these are businesses that have grown up on Instagram and others and built their businesses there, but now looking to scale to the next level. And in 90% of cases, when they started their campaign, within 10 to 14 days, the average lift in search results on Google was 65 to 75%. So that's 90% of 900 getting a lift of 60 to 75%. And so there you have it. The performance that it delivers in mid funnel, and now think about what that lift in search results does to consideration, and you can start to drive the funnel. So the reason it can win is because it's a product that is performative and it works. The reason it won't win is if it can't make it simple and if it can't operationalize proof of performance on an always-on way, because that is the expectation that advertisers, particularly longer tail advertisers, have. So the opportunity is clear. We just have to sort of execute against that. And those first to TV direct to consumer advertisers I talked about, They're spending over $4 billion right now in TV. And that is despite the fact that the majority of them feel that it's really difficult to measure. And these are companies that have got some of the best data scientists, and their job is to sort of optimize for sort of return on ad spend, right? So imagine if it was made easier.
Then we get it. Yes. So I'm conscious of time, so we're going to move on to what's big on your agenda for 2025.
Yeah, it's not to bore everyone, but it's to simplify TV advertising, because that is not only necessary for the core client base, major agencies working with their major broadcasters and publishers. We talked about programmatic supply chain as an example, but it is to open up the ability for premium video as a category, the same way that YouTube is a category for short form primarily, or Meta is a category for social. Like there's an approach for companies broadcasters to work closely together, and to enable access to that inventory to go after social video and YouTube and go after those dollars. And again, as I said in my last answer, the reason why I think the hypothesis at least is strong, you got to execute against it, is because these advertisers are asking for it. Yeah. So the opportunity is there. It comes down, as always, to execution excellence.
Yeah. Quality always wins in the end.
That's right.
So in the spirit of the new year, what is your biggest wish for the year? Or in fact, if there was one thing that you'd like to achieve in 2025, get to sort of December 25, and you said, yes, this is what we achieve, what would that be?
Well, I think it's I think it's that there is genuine proof points on the board for what I've just been talking about in the last 20 minutes. And the hypothesis that I've just laid out is no longer a hypothesis. It has been proven, and it's been proven to a point that we can scale it and drive new growth into the industry. And my belief is, in order to do that, I'll talk for Comcast only, of course, is we can't do it alone. Mm-hmm. We have to think about TV as a platform, and think about doing things in standardized ways, because we have to take a advertiser-centric approach, not a publisher-centric approach. And I think if we've set the framework and we have demonstrated that the hypothesis is true, then it becomes, how do you scale against it? That would be my wish.
That is a big wish, and looking forward to seeing it materialize. I mean, this is certainly a call for collaboration, but also a call for action. So here is to 2025. James, thank you ever so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you so much for having me on.
And to all our Media Talk listeners, as always, thank you for tuning in and for all your support throughout the year. Please keep your questions and suggestions coming. You can send these to me via LinkedIn, or you can email me at ejosserand@freewheel.com. We have a fantastic lineup for our upcoming podcast, so make sure you subscribe so you get automatic alerts when the next episode is out. And until next time, thank you and goodbye.
Media Talks, the podcast that helps to better understand the world of media and video advertising.